Pasadena, Calif. If Oregon coach Willie Taggart allowed freshmen to speak to the media, I would consider it warranted to offer freshman quarterback Braxton Burmeister an apology, not necessarily for the mostly critical remarks myself and other members of the media have hurled toward his play. That's simply part of the job and unavoidable. It also isn't personal. He has not played well during 3 consecutive losses for Oregon. 44-14 Pac-12 outscored 11,331 during that stretch, including a 3,114 loss Saturday at UCLA. Where an apology is warranted is in relation to Burmeister having been unfairly placed squarely in the crosshairs of the media and fans thanks to circumstances beyond his control, resulting in mounds and mounds of criticism. A 41 start for Oregon raised expectations. Sophomore quarterback Justin Herbert going down with a broken collarbone placed those expectations on the Burmeister's shoulders. Suddenly, all eyes were fixated on him, waiting to see if he could perform feats he clearly isn't ready to tackle. That is an incredibly unfair situation. Burmeister looked somewhat improved against the Bruins 43-23, passing for 74 yards and rushing for 2 scores. All that stat line really tells anyone is that the bar was set really low following his 23-yard passing performance with 2 interceptions the previous week during a 497 loss at Stanford. One would expect better from a former 4-star recruit rated by Rivals.com as the number 7 rated dual-threat quarterback in the nation. But that's part of the problem. Recruiting rankings and hype fuel expectations for instant success, even at a position where patience and proper grooming usually lead to better results. Burmeister, who amassed more than 14,000 yards of offense at La Jolla County High School, Calif, simply isn't prepared for this level of competition. He should be on the sideline watching, listening and learning while wearing an Oregon baseball cap and headphones. His job should be charting the action on a clipboard or waving his arms around signaling in plays. Instead, he's getting pounded on the field and ripped away from it because too many observers expected him to live up to the hype. But hype is no match for reality and expectations rarely trump logic. Burmeister's reality thus far: 52.9 completion percentage, 82 passing yards per game, 1 touchdown pass and 5 interceptions. That statistical line screams, "I'm not ready for this." The fact is that Burmeister is the 4th best quarterback Oregon has had on its roster this year. However, redshirt sophomore Travis Johnson and redshirt freshman Terry Wilson Jr. transferred to junior colleges because they couldn't beat out sophomore starter Justin Herbert. He broke his collarbone while scoring on a touchdown run against California, leading to senior backup Taylor Alley taking the field. He then suffered a concussion, forcing UO coach Willie Taggart to burn Burmeister's redshirt in order to finish the Cal game. That led to Burmeister, far more talented than Alley, becoming the starter way ahead of his time. In a perfect world where backup quarterbacks were content being backups until their time, Burmeister would be redshirting, safe from complicated game plans, snarling defenses, journalists cozy in the press box, and the ire of a fan base spoiled by the play of former UO greats Joey Harrington, Kellen Clemens, Dennis Dixon, Darren Thomas, Marcus Mariota and Vernon Adams Jr. But remember that none of the aforementioned former quarterbacks were asked to start as a freshman. Only Mariota, who redshirted behind Thomas in 2012, would have certainly been better as a true freshman than Burmeister is now. They were all fortunate to be able to sit and learn. Then there's Herbert, another quarterback savant whose rare gifts are further illustrated by Burmeister's struggles. As badly as things have gone for Burmeister, there are signs of hope that he could develop into a quality quarterback down the road. He is one tough dude. In 3 games, Burmeister has been smacked around pretty good while being credited for 40 carries including sacks. He also can run well. He isn't on the level of Mariota and Dixon, but he could certainly rush for 500 yards in a season providing his passing could keep defenses honest, which it isn't right now. However, Taggart would like for him to be wise in the face of his competitiveness. After taking off, he's got to be smart and throw the ball away and get down when he should. Taggart said, "We need for him to learn that ASAP and not take a lot of those hits because some of them are unnecessary." As for passing, Burmeister has a live arm and displayed some budding accuracy at UCLA. It's a lot easier to be accurate when you can read defenses quickly, anticipate the throw and deliver the ball with confidence. That's tough to do for any freshman. On his thrown interception in the 3rd quarter, Burmeister forced the ball deep down the right sideline after the intended receiver had run the wrong route, according to Taggart. Burmeister also tried to execute a pass play when the call was a run, resulting in him getting blasted by an unblocked pass rusher. Those are some of the freshman mistakes that you make and that we need for him not to make, Taggart said. Unfortunately, Burmeister clearly isn't ready to avoid making such mistakes. nor is he ready to take on the Pac-12 as a true freshman. Yet, here he is, saddled with this enormous burden and facing unfair criticism. For that reason alone, Burmeister deserves an apology. Oregon reaching a bowl game appeared to be a virtual given not too long ago. 3 blowout losses later and the Ducks find their postseason hopes leaning against the ropes, with reality rearing back to deliver a knockout blow. The Ducks will host Utah on Saturday in what should be considered all but a must-win for Oregon, which faces a tough schedule down the stretch. UO coach Willie Taggart, when asked following his team's 3,114 loss at UCLA on Saturday how important it would be for these young Ducks 44-14 Pac-12 to gain the experience that comes with playing in a bowl game, said he couldn't even consider such things at the moment. "We're not thinking about bowl right now," Taggart said. "We need to get another win. If we get another win, then we'll start thinking about those other things. But it's really, really important now that we find a way to win a ball game. Failing to reach a bowl game this season should be viewed as a colossal disaster." Despite Oregon going 48 last year, plenty of reasons existed to expect the Ducks to win at least 6 games in 2017. Starting out 41, then failing to capture 2 additional victories over 7 remaining contests would certainly be a bad look for Taggart and the program, even when factoring in the loss of sophomore quarterback Justin Herbert Collarbone, who has missed the team's last 3 games. His return date is unknown. Surely Oregon should have been expected to scratch out 2 more wins with anyone at quarterback. Oregon's margin for error to reach 66 and become bowl eligible is virtually 0, with Utah visiting Autzen on Saturday. As it stands right now, Oregon has one seemingly very winnable game remaining, and that's the Civil War on November 25th at home to close the regular season against Oregon State 16-04. The Ducks also have one seemingly guaranteed loss, with or without Herbert, and that's November 4th at 12 Washington 61-31. If those 2 games turn out as most of the world would expect them to, the Ducks would need to get a win against either the Utes or surging Arizona on November 11th to reach 6 victories. Herbert should return no later than November 11th. His injury was said to keep him out 4 to 6 weeks. This Saturday would be the 4th week since the injury occurred September 30th against California. The Arizona game happened 7 weeks out. But defeating the Wildcats would be anything but a given even with Herbert, and that game looks now like a sure loss if he were not to play. Arizona sophomore quarterback Willie Taggart has been lighting up the Pac-12 since becoming the Wildcats starter on October 7. Taggart has amassed 694 yards rushing in 3 starts and 468 passing with 11 total touchdowns. Arizona has won all 3 of his starts while averaging 46.3 points per game. He has had the opposite impact on his team that Oregon freshman quarterback Braxton Burmeister has had on his since replacing Herbert. The Ducks have scored 31 points in 3 games with Burmeister at quarterback. Simply math would indicate that UO would have a tough time defeating Arizona and Taggart without Herbert. Even with Herbert, expecting him to outduel Taggart after sitting out 7 weeks would be foolish. Herbert could help UO put up numbers, but Arizona should be expected to also score a lot of points, making the outcome very much in doubt. Consequently, it's imperative that the Ducks win over Utah in order to ease the pressure of having to take down Taggart and Arizona. Believe it or not, the Ducks have a chance to do so even if Burmeister makes his 4th start. Utah is reeling at the moment, having lost 3 consecutive games. The Utes' offense is a mess, which is exactly what the Ducks need to see. If Utah can be held to under 27 points, it is possible that Burmeister makes enough progress to lift the Ducks to a close win. What Oregon truly needs is for Herbert to make a miraculous recovery and play on Saturday. Either way, the Ducks had better approach this game with a Doherty mentality. Oregon vs. Utah, 1:45 p.m. Saturday, Autzen Stadium. TV Pac-12 Network's betting line: Utah -312. Records: Ducks 44-14 Pac-12, Utah 43-13. Last week Arizona won 4,544 in overtime at California 44-14. Oregon lost 3,114 at UCLA 43-23. Coaches: Ducks Willie Taggart 4,449-44 at Oregon. Utah's Kyle Whittingham 10,853. Fear factor 5-point scale 5. Utah has lost 3 consecutive games to Stanford, at USC and home against ASU. The offense has fallen on hard times while the defense went from allowing 19 points per game through the first 4 contests to giving up a still solid 27.0. Oregon, these days, can accommodate such numbers with an offense that has scored 31 points over the last 3 games. One could very easily see Utah winning this game. 2,417. Preliminary pick weighting on Herbert. News: Oregon 27, Utah 20. Oregon will be home against a mediocre opponent that is struggling on offense. That, and a couple more plays from Burmeister than usual, will be enough to help the Ducks get that all-important fifth victory. Then Taggart can start talking about how important it would be for his team to appear in a bowl game. Former Oregon wide receiver Darren Carrington Jr. will return to Watson Stadium on Saturday when the Ducks host Utah. That reality got me thinking, how incredulous would Carrington, a true diva receiver, be right now had he spent the past 3 weeks playing for Oregon 44-14 Pac-12 with struggling freshman quarterback Braxton Burmeister failing to get him the ball. It certainly would have been entertaining to watch Carrington get open over and over, only to end up throwing his arms around in frustration over not being targeted by Burmeister, who has passed for 246 yards in 3 starts. Remember, Carrington caught passes from Marcus Mariota, Vernon Adams Jr. and Justin Herbert. Carrington would have lost his mind under these circumstances. Unfortunately, we were denied such entertainment when UO coach Willie Taggart Jr. dismissed Carrington from the team over the summer following a DUI arrest. Carrington will have his chance to exact a little revenge on the Ducks, who desperately need a win in order to improve their bowl chances. But Taggart, when asked how his team would prepare for Carrington, said his struggling team has far more pressing issues to contend with. Go to practice, prepare well, get ready to go out and try to play our best ball game to try to win, Taggart said. I don't think we're going and saying we've got to stop Darren Carrington. We've got to go and play better than what we've played. It doesn't matter who is on that other side of the ball. Taggart's decision to remove Carrington from the team remains a sound one. The move sent a message to the rest of UO's roster that Taggart would not tolerate repeat disciplinary problems from players. The decision, that took weeks to reach following Carrington's arrest, also put a large hole in the Ducks' receiving core. Maybe most importantly, Taggart's decision was probably the best thing for Carrington. He needed a shot in the gut to let him know that his talents won't alone carry him to success. Oregon would survive with him. The NFL could survive without him. Carrington appears to have gotten the message and is thriving for Utah 43-13. Carrington has caught 45 passes for 649 yards and 5 touchdowns. He leads the Pac-12 with 92.7 receiving yards per game and his 6.4 receptions per game rank 4th. Could Carrington have helped Oregon? Yes. Of course, but only if he had avoided being a distraction, something he failed to do in 3 seasons with the Ducks. A focused and disciplined Carrington would help any team. But he wouldn't have helped Oregon these past 3 weeks without a viable quarterback to get him the ball. Carrington should be thankful that Taggart gave him the boot, and even more thankful that Utah coach Kyle Whittingham gave him a chance. The hope here is that all of the turmoil that Carrington has created and experienced leads to him maturing and having a strong NFL career. Pasadena, Calif. The Oregon Ducks left Southern California on Saturday, a desperate football team, and their coach, Willie Taggart, departed as a man searching in vain for answers following a 3,114 to UCLA in the Rose Bowl. 3 consecutive lopsided losses by the combined score of 11,331 have made it clear that this young and battered team is all but incapable of producing a winning product without starting quarterback Justin Herbert, who has missed 3 games with a broken collarbone. There is plenty of blame to go around. Select any section of the team and you could find fault within. But the bottom line is that all of the team's woes can be linked right back to the absence of Herbert. The offense, aside from the yard-churning play of senior running back Royce Freeman, is a disaster. The defense, brilliant at times, isn't skilled or wise enough to carry a team in such a high-scoring conference. All of these realities left Taggart somewhat exasperated while he explained mistake after mistake made by his young quarterback, freshman Braxton Burmeister, and the rest of the team. Those are the headaches that you get right now, Taggart said in a frustrated tone. But you understand that it's going to get better. If it doesn't in a hurry, Oregon 44-14 Pac-12 could miss a bowl game for the 2nd consecutive season. The Ducks need 2 victories to reach 6 and become eligible. Right now, 3 of the team's 4 remaining games appear to be imminently losable without Herbert. It shouldn't be possible that one player could mean so much to a team. Even in 2015, when the Ducks lost quarterback Vernon Adams Jr., they managed to score 140 points over 3 games, with backup Jeff Locke as the starter. Taggart would give almost anything right now for that type of offensive production. The positive sign Saturday was that the team certainly looked better than it did during a 497 loss at Stanford last week. Burmeister, who passed for 23 yards against the Cardinal, connected on some promising throws on Saturday but still amassed just 74 yards through the air. UCLA knew the Ducks couldn't throw well and stacked up against Freeman, who gained 160 yards on 29 punishing carries to become the program's all-time career-leading rusher. Oregon fell behind 140 before Burmeister manufactured two scoring drives that required 15 plays each and ended with him scoring on the ground. Such long drives covering 603 and 516 were a departure for UO. But it worked and gave the Ducks hope. In the second half, however, the mistakes resurfaced. Drives died. UCLA 43-23 added some scores, and that was that. "We can't do that to ourselves," Taggart said of the miscues. "I think for us, we've got to play cleaner and smarter, all around. Especially when you don't have a quarterback that can make plays. Oregon, and most teams for that matter, is not capable of playing so perfectly that they can overcome not having a playmaker at quarterback." The Ducks had to be nearly perfect against a team led by a vastly superior quarterback in Josh Rosen, held to a reasonable 266 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Taggart said the team entered the game with 3 goals they needed to reach in order to win the game: don't turn the ball over, force turnovers, reduce penalties. They only accomplished the latter, committing just 3 for 15 yards after entering the game, averaging 10.2 per game, while coughing up 2 turnovers and forcing 0. The fumble was committed by freshman running back Darian Felix on the Ducks' opening drive and converted into a touchdown. The interception came in the third quarter with the Ducks trailing 2,414. The receiver on the play, Taggart said, ran the wrong route, but Burmeister forced a pass deep to him anyway. His underthrown ball ended up in the hands of UCLA cornerback Colin Samuel. "We're taking our lumps right now with a lot of these young guys playing, but those guys will continue to get better and we'll find a way," Taggart said. The biggest positive, according to Taggart, was that his team fought back from being down 140 in the first quarter to tie the game at halftime. "I thought our guys showed a lot of fight," Taggart said. However, when things went south in the second half, so did the team's resolve. "Right now I think from a mental standpoint we have to get ourselves right, staying positive, especially when things go wrong," Taggart said. When asked if Herbert could return next week at home against Utah, Taggart said he had no idea. Notice that he didn't say no. If Herbert returns, the Ducks would have a strong chance to win at least 2 more games and become bowl eligible. But that is hardly a given. If he remained out until the Ducks host Arizona 42-21 on November 18, UO would be in serious jeopardy of not reaching a bowl game for the second consecutive season. That certainly was not the plan when Taggart took over for Mark Helfrich, fired last winter. Starting quarterback or no starting quarterback, Taggart was expected to at least get the Ducks back to the postseason. "A lot must change in order for that to happen. I believe in this team and love this team, and I feel like this team will get it corrected," Taggart said. "We've just got to stay the course, stay positive and find the way. The opportunities to do so are drying up quickly." Pasadena, Calif. Oregon senior running back Royce Freeman became the Ducks' all-time leading rusher with a 16-yard run in the fourth quarter of the team's 3,114 loss at UCLA. The run left Freeman with 153 rushing yards on the day and 5,096 for his career. He finished the game with 160 yards on 29 carries and has 5,103 for his career. Freeman entered the game needing 140 yards to break LaMichelle James' career record of 5,082, amassed over 3 seasons from 2009 through 2011. Freeman is in his 4th season with UO. Freeman breaking the record today appeared to be a given. The Bruins 33-12 Pac-12 entered the game ranked last in the conference and 128th in the nation in rushing defense, allowing 313 yards per game. Oregon 43-13 entered the day ranked 3rd in the conference and 18th in the nation in rushing with 244.3 yards per game. Freeman started the game ranked 3rd in the conference and 9th in the nation with 797 rushing yards. Freeman began the season with 4,146 career rushing yards and needing 937 to break James' record. Eugene, Oregon defensive coordinator Jim Leavitt was all smiles when he met with the media on Wednesday outside of the Hatfield-Allen complex. He was also very anxious to get out to the practice field. About 90 seconds into the interview session, Leavitt moved one foot toward exiting while asking, "Anything else?" "Well, yeah. Can't get away that easily when we get you once a week and the defense is getting lit up as of late." The Ducks 43-12 Pac-12 have given up 143 points, 35.6 per game in 4 Pac-12 games after allowing just 69 in 3 non-conference games. So, who could blame Leavitt for wanting to get the practice? Like the Ducks' offense 17 points in the last 2 games, the defense has plenty of work to do. But unlike the offense, which is operating without quarterback Justin Herbert, the Ducks' defense doesn't have an obvious excuse to lean on. The main 11 starters have remained mostly the same, with a few depth chart changes and a couple of players missing games here and there. Only inside linebacker Kalana Ipelu has been lost for the season. What's happened to the defense is simple. It went from playing very average offenses to facing quarterbacks that can put points on the board. UO has allowed 12 touchdown passes in 4 Pac-12 games and now faces the challenge of contending with UCLA's Josh Rosen, who has thrown for 17 scoring passes this year. UCLA hosts Oregon at 1 p.m. Saturday in the Rose Bowl. It's bad enough giving up touchdown passes, but Oregon isn't even intercepting any to balance things out a bit. After intercepting 6 passes in non-conference play, the Ducks have picked off just 1 pass in conference. "We do it all of the time in practice. We've just got to translate it into the games," Robinson said. Getting interceptions against scout team quarterbacks is not the same as facing Pac-12 starters. The quarterback foursome of Arizona State's Manny Wilkins, California's Ross Bowers, Washington State's Luke Falk and Stanford's Keller Christ have given the Ducks problems. Even Bowers, sacked 7 times, managed to throw for 3 touchdowns with no interceptions. The 1 interception for UO in conference came at Stanford on a dropped and tipped slant pass in the end zone that landed in the arms of freshman cornerback Diamador Lenoir. Maybe the most concerning problem is that those same quarterbacks have had poor games against other teams. Falk threw 5 interceptions in last week's 373 loss at Cal. Bowers threw 4 in a loss to USC. Wilkins threw 2 at Stanford. Christ had 2 picked off at San Diego State. So, they've given up the ball. Just not to Oregon. Back to Rosen. He threw for 3 interceptions and 0 touchdowns in a 4,730 loss last week at Arizona. He now has 8 on the season, tied for the second most among conference starting quarterbacks. He is a bit of a gunslinger that likes to take chances. So, if Oregon is going to pull off the upset, the Ducks must find a way to pluck a few of his passes out of the air. "We're always focused on turnovers, whether that's stripping the ball out, punching it, our quarterback throwing it and get it," UO safeties coach Keith Hayward said. "We just haven't made plays." Levitt pointed out that the Ducks have had chances at intercepting a few more during conference play, but failed to catch the ball. "Those are missed opportunities," he said. "With the offense struggling so badly, the defense can't afford to not force turnovers." The mediocre play of backup quarterback Braxton Burmeister, a true freshman, has resulted in too many short drives that result in no points. Oregon's defense was on the field for 37 minutes during its 497 loss at Stanford. "That's too much pressure to put on a young and rebuilding defense. Obvious we feel like we have to stop the opponent no matter whether the offense is playing like it was before or playing like we are now," Hayward said. "We just have to take care of our own side of the ball and get stops. Part of the problem is some of the youth of the secondary. The Ducks have started safety Nick Pickett and cornerback Thomas Graham Jr. Lenoir has seen his playing time increase. They represent the future of the Ducks secondary. Sometimes growing pains can be tough. They're trying," Levitt said. "They're doing the best they can. They are going to be great players. I'm really excited about them." Oregon at UCLA when 1 p.m. Saturday, Rose Bowl, Pasadena, Calif TV Pac-12 Network's betting line UCLA -612. Records Ducks 43-13 Pac-12 Bruins 33-12. Last week UCLA lost 4,730 to Arizona 42-21. Oregon lost 497 at number 22 Stanford 52-41. Coaches Ducks Willie Taggart 4,448-43 at Oregon. UCLA's Jim Mora 4,427. Fear factor 5-point scale 5. Oregon should run wild, but unless the Ducks get some big plays from Burmeister they won't have much of a chance of keeping pace with Rosen and his fleet of receivers. Redshirt sophomore tight end Caleb Wilson leads the Pac-12 with 7.6 receptions per game over 5 games. He has caught 38 passes for 489 yards and 1 touchdown. Redshirt senior wide receiver Darren Andrews is second at 7.3 receptions per game. He has made 44 receptions for 591 yards and 7 touchdowns. Redshirt junior Jordan Lasley leads the conference in receiving yards per game 108.4 over 5 games while catching 54 passes for 543 yards and 3 touchdowns. Final pick UCLA 44, Oregon 30. Burmeister will improve enough to help the offense break 20 for the first time in 3 weeks, but it won't be nearly enough. I took to Twitter this week to answer fan questions about the Oregon Ducks 43-13 Pac-12. You can find all of them using Ask Fountress. Here are some of the best ones as Oregon prepares to play at UCLA 33-12 at 1 p.m. on Saturday. Burmeister will have to improve his ability to read coverages while the coaches simplify schemes. Give him two reads, if not open. Run. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Chip Kelly. He wouldn't even discuss injuries at all in the end. A player could be in a full-body cast and Chip would say he was day-to-day. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Possibly. He certainly appears to have a knack for recruiting. It usually starts there. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. They ran a ton of short passes versus WSU. 11 of 15 completions were 8 yards or less. Ran some at Stanford, as well. But, ask Fountress. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Run wild and hope Burmeister avoids turnovers, converts on third and short and hits 3 or 4 passes over 20 yards. Best chance. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. All three. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. He regressed versus Stanford. Maybe he can harness what he did well against WSU and take advantage of a good run game versus UCLA. Ask Fountress. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Yes, I do. UCLA's defense is very bad, particularly against the run, which is UO's strength. Ask Fountress. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Stick with the current offense but maybe slow the pace to allow Burmeister to get good press snap reads so he can make some plays. They need him. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. They need 2 more victories. I see Herbert returning no later than Arizona and the Ducks winning their final 2 games. Ask Fountress. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. It got too deep for him so he ran and hid behind a Twitter wall where it's safe. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. He's whatever flavor you get when you mix salty with bitter. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Pretty much. And who could blame him? It's tough getting taken to school and dropped off with lunch money by me on a daily basis. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Allow me to ask call. Nathan R. Jessup. He can't handle the truth. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Dwight is used to going unchallenged on talking ball. The Godfather doesn't do well when faced with facts from a strong personality. Aaron J. Fentress at Aaron Jontress October 20, 2017. Oregon senior running back Royce Freeman returned to his 100-yard rushing ways on Saturday with 143 on 18 carries during a 497 loss at number 22 Stanford. It was Freeman's first 100-yard game since he began the season with 3 straight such performances before going for 81, 51 and 62 over the following 3 games. Freeman now needs 140 to become Oregon's all-time leading rusher. He should reach that mark on Saturday at UCLA. The Bruins 33-12 Pac-12 rank last in the conference and 128th in the nation in rushing defense, allowing 313 yards per game. Oregon 43-13 ranks 3rd in the conference and 18th in the nation in rushing with 244.3 yards per game. Freeman ranks 3rd in the conference and 9th in the nation with 797 rushing yards. Freeman entered the season with 4,146 career rushing yards and needing 937 to break James' record of 5,082. Record watch rushing yardage. James' record 5,082 yards. Last week Freeman rushed for 143 yards on 18 carries at Stanford. 2017 total. Freeman now has rushed for 797 yards rushing in 6 games. Career total. Freeman has 4,943 yards career rushing yards. Freeman needs he is 140 yards away from breaking James' record. Previous games Freeman rushed for 62 against Washington State, 51 yards versus Cal, 81 yards at ASU, 157 yards at Wyoming, 153 yards versus Nebraska and 150 against Southern Utah. Rushing touchdowns. James' previous record 53. Freeman's record. Freeman has 54 rushing touchdowns for his career. The last week Freeman did not score at Stanford. 2017 total 10. Next up, the Ducks play at 1 p.m. Saturday at UCLA. Will the third start for Oregon freshman quarterback Braxton Burmeister be the charm? Oregon coach Willie Taggart certainly hopes so. His options at quarterback are limited with sophomore Justin Herbert out again for this week's game at UCLA 33-12. It will either Burmeister or redshirt senior Taylor Alley. Despite two losses in which the Ducks scored a combined 17 points, it appears that Taggart will stick with Burmeister as the starter and hope that playing near his hometown of La Jolla, Calif, will inspire him to perform better. Even after two subpar performances by Burmeister, Taggart doesn't believe his first quarterback recruit's confidence has waned. "I just think he's got to play better," Taggart said. Through 2 starts and a quarter of play the night Herbert went down against California, Burmeister has completed 19 of 36 passes, 52.8% for 172 yards and 1 touchdown with 4 interceptions. He's rushed for gains of 69 yards with a net of 27 after deducting yards mostly lost on sacks. While few people, if any, expected Burmeister to match the production of Herbert when he started as a freshman last year, it was reasonable to expect that the 4-star recruit would at least perform like a potential future starter. He has not yet. Taggart still believes Herbert will improve. "Just being sure when you go back and throw," Taggart said. "We've got to make sure from a practice standpoint that we put him in those situations more often than what we do. Burmeister is not reading defenses well, is making poor decisions, and when he does throw the ball, isn't displaying much accuracy aside from the occasional moment here and there. He looks like a quarterback who has very little confidence in what he is doing." Already down 217 in the first quarter, Burmeister had a pass intercepted when he forced a throw to running back Tony Brooks-James, who was running a wheel down the left sideline. On the play, running back Connie Benoit can be seen running wide open to the left on a swing route. Also, slot receiver Charles Nelson could be found wide open running a dig route from left to right, while finding and hitting Nelson might have been a high-end read. Reading wide receiver Brendan Schooler on the post route to Brooks-James and then down to Benoit is relatively routine. But Burmeister failed to recognize the multiple black jerseys that flew deep, leaving Benoit uncovered. These types of easy plays must be corrected in order for the offense to start clicking again. Burmeister can't turn what should be an easy throw for a first down into a forced interception, especially when he isn't under pressure. "We don't need for him to win the football game for us, but we definitely can't turn the football over," Taggart said. The lone bright spot for Burmeister is his running ability, an important skill for Taggart's offense. "I thought he did a good job running the football," Taggart said. "That's the one thing he looked really comfortable doing. Taggart will take that every time. Running after a play breaks down is certainly better than forcing a bad pass. You don't have to make all of the plays, just make the right play for us," Taggart said. "All of the mistakes Burmeister has made," Taggart said, "are correctable." He said the coaches have to do a better job of putting him in easier situations he is capable of executing. Then, it's up to Burmeister to settle down and play good football. "Just go out and have fun and don't put too much pressure on yourself," Taggart said. "Then things will work out." Oregon sophomore quarterback Justin Herbert, out with a fractured left collarbone, has been throwing at practice and maybe more importantly, according to coach Willie Taggart, is drinking his milk. "I was sitting with him at dinner the other night and he had 2 vitamin D cartons right there," Taggart said. He said, "Coach, I'm drinking my milk. You got to love him." Taggart would love him a little bit more if Herbert were able to help the Ducks' 43-13 Pac-12 get out of this current tailspin. Herbert broke his left collarbone scoring on a 7-yard touchdown run in the first quarter against California on September 30th. In 2 games without him, Oregon has lost 3,310 at home to number 15 Washington State 61-31 and on Saturday fell 497 at number 22 Stanford 52-41. That's a combined score of 8,217 minus Herbert, who originally was said to be out 4 to 6 weeks. Freshman quarterback Braxton Burmeister has struggled mightily in Herbert's absence. Senior Taylor Alley has also played poorly. Their struggles have led to a virtual collapse of Oregon's offense, which entered the WSU game averaging 49.6 points per game. Saturday's 7 points were the fewest scored by an Oregon team since 2007 when the Ducks lost 160 to UCLA after star quarterback Dennis Dixon went down for the season with a knee injury. The 4th week out from September 30th is October 28th when the Ducks host Utah. Could Herbert return then? If it were up to him, he would probably play this week at UCLA. "Justin really wants to get back as soon as possible," Taggart said. "It's pretty cool to watch." Herbert did begin throwing last week, and Oregon's football Twitter account at Oregon Football put out a video of him throwing the ball around on Sunday. Watch a welcome sight for at Oregon Football as they wrap up their Sunday practice. At Duck Football and at McNamara will have today's Quack Minute. Pick.twitter.com/nudge18. Oregon video at Quack Video October 16, 2017. Because Herbert injured his non-throwing shoulder, he has been able to get a jump start on regaining his form and timing before the injury is 100% healed. The pressing question is, when will that be? Indications from team sources at the time of the injury made it sound like he could return closer to the 4-week mark than the 6-week mark. However, other sources said that October 28 would be pushing it. Herbert returning for the Ducks' November 18 home game against Arizona would be 7 weeks from when the injury occurred. Without Herbert in action, the Ducks are increasingly becoming in danger of becoming bowl eligible. Little evidence suggests that UO can win any of its next 3 games without Herbert, at UCLA 33-12, home against Utah 42-12, and at number 12 Washington 61-31. Losing all 3 would put the Ducks at 46 with 2 games remaining. Oregon would then need to defeat Arizona 42-21 and Oregon State 16-04 to reach 66. At one time that seemed like a given, providing Herbert returned at least by the Arizona game. However, the Wildcats have seen a resurgence thanks to the play of sophomore quarterback Khalil Tate. In 2 starts, he has rushed for 557 yards and 6 touchdowns while passing for 302 yards and 2 scores with 0 interceptions. If Oregon needs to defeat Arizona in order to become bowl eligible, the Ducks could be in big trouble, with or without Herbert. For that reason, it might be a must that he returns for Utah in order to increase the Ducks' chances of getting to 6 wins. "I'm sure he will get back sooner than we think," Taggart said. "The Ducks had better hope so."